नमस्कार, मेरा नाम है हर्षवर्धन सिंह। आप देख रहे हैं एमएस टीवी, शो है रूबरू। और मेरे साथ आज स्टूडियोज़ में हैं सुनीता कौल जी। कश्मीर, भारत, उनकी पैदाइश वहाँ से, फिर उसके बाद कनाडा चली गईं। जर्नलिस्ट हैं, भारत में भी बहुत लंबे समय, इंडिया में भी बहुत लंबे समय पत्रकारिता की है। और कश्मीरी मिलिटेंसी और उसके अलावा भी जितने बड़े मुद्दे रहे हैं उस एक समय के, जिसे आजकल हम मिलेनियल्स का टाइम बोलते हैं, और उससे पहले का उस समय के जो सबसे बड़े बड़े मुद्दे रहे हैं, जिसको लेकर आजकल पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज़ या फिर किसी गली चौक चौराहे पर होने वाली बहसों में बहुत इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, उनको बड़े नज़दीक से देखा है। मेरे लिए एक अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी है उन्हें समझने की, क्लैरिफिकेशन की और एक थोड़ा सा अपनी समझ में बदलाव करने की। तो मैं करूँगा उस लिहाज से बात, बाकी आपके ऊपर निर्भर करता है आप उससे क्या निकालना चाहते हैं। चलते हैं और बात करते हैं। बहुत बहुत स्वागत है सुनीता जी आपका।
Thank you for calling me in.
Pleasure is all mine to host you because uh, I believe when two journalists sit together, they have very strong beliefs. Yet they have this whole quotient of listening to each other. तो वो एक मुझे बड़ी खूबसूरत चीज़ लगती है। सुनीता जी, सबसे पहले थोड़ा सा पर्सनल कि कहाँ से हैं आप, अर्ली लाइफ कैसी थी, थोड़ा थोड़ा समझने के लिहाज से।
तो मेरी पैदाइश कश्मीर की थी। आई वॉज़ वेरी यंग व्हेन वी लेफ्ट। बहुत ही शायद बचपन में ही, मुझे कुछ ज़्यादा याद नहीं है, बस ये याद है कि वहाँ पे अर्थक्वेक्स आते थे, हम लोग प्रेजेंटेशन कॉन्वेंट में थे, वो ड्रिल्स होती थी, साइरेंस बजती थी, बिकॉज वी वर ऑलवेज द डिस्प्यूटेड, यू नो, of course in my heart there is no dispute about the fact कि हम लोग भारत का हिस्सा हैं, अखंड हिस्सा हैं। लेकिन उस समय वो टेंशन चल रहा था कि हमेशा था ये टेंशन, लेकिन हम लोगों को वो ड्रिल्स करते थे, you know, we used to have those bunkers and stuff like that. And this is the only thing that I remember about Kashmir. My father was a journalist. He was with PTI, Press Trust of India, which was the only agency, news
क्या नाम
agency.
उनका?
H.N. Kaul, Hridaynath Kaul. He's an author as well. He's written Keri Malviya and the World of Oil. He's written about Kashmir a lot. He's passionately involved with Kashmir, and right now he's in his 90s. He's just finished a book on Kashmir, which I'm looking for a publisher for. It's on Kashmir, the games that were played, the games that were played, you know, around Kashmir. And this started during the British time. And that is what he wants people to understand, that Kashmir problem is not a problem that started with the independence movement or with the bifurcation of India into Pakistan and India. It started right from the time of the British. And my father has said that the British were paranoid about the Russians because we had we were into the CIS. Kashmir's boundary has been taken away a lot. And he's proven through archived documents of the British that कि कश्मीर जो था वो CIS के अंदर जा चुका था, उनकी टेरिटरी, वो टेरिटरी हमसे छीनी गई। British snatched away that territory from my land, which is Kashmir, and I feel passionately about Kashmir. उन्होंने वो उसको CIS में जो था हम लोगों का टेरिटरी,
CIS अगर
you know what was part of the USSR, it is called the Central Asian countries like Turkmenistan, like Kazakhstan, and the Caspian Sea, around the Caspian Sea. So he's proven the fact that वो हिस्सा
सोवियत
हाँ, सोवियत के खौफ से कि सोवियत इन्वेजन वहाँ से आएगा, कश्मीर was part of, तो उसको उन्होंने टुकड़ा कर दिया. I mean, they bifurcated that. So that was, I've grown up in an environment where there's been academics. So my father used to travel a lot. He's been to a lot of countries. And that was my childhood. I grew up in a very academic atmosphere. और
कश्मीर आपने बहुत बचपन में छोड़ दिया?
बहुत बचपन में छोड़ दिया।
उसके बाद कहाँ शिफ्ट हुए आप लोग?
लेकिन हम लोग अभी travel between UP, Delhi, and then back to UP and Delhi, UP. But we used to keep going as children because we had an ancestral home. जो था वो हब्बा कदल में, which is one of the oldest parts of Kashmir, वहाँ पे था। हम लोग चारों तरफ से
हब्बा खातून नहीं है that
no हब्बा कदल.
हब्बा कदल.
We have bridges, you know, हब्बा कदल, अमीरा कदल. That is part of Kashmir. So we grew up in between. I mean, as a child we left. And then कश्मीर छोड़ दिया, लेकिन हम लोग कश्मीर बार-बार जाते थे as children. At least I have been a lot. And then I covered Kashmir when I was with, it was called Business India TV. I did India Business Report. उस समय TV18 Business India था और शुरुआत हो रही थी privatization की, दूरदर्शन न्यूज़ चैनल्स का. Then TV18 or Business India they had an alliance with ABNI, which was a big company and which later on was taken over by CNBC. So that is the background of CNBC. It was basically Asia Business News, which was out of Singapore, and I was working for that, and I covered Kashmir at the peak of its militancy, and I had the good fortune of interviewing a lot of the militants, काफी militants से भी.
एक आध नाम?
I met Yasin Malik. I met a whole lot of them. You know, I have those interviews on my file. जो भी थे घनी लोन, सब लोगों से मुलाकात हुई. हाँ, घनी लोन जी थे, and then there was so I had the good fortune of covering Kashmir when at the height of its before the.
सुनीता जी, कश्मीर आपने बोला कि पहले जब वहाँ से वापस आ गए उसके बाद भी जाते रहे, तो व्हाट वाज दैट डिफरेंस? बिकॉज आप उससे पहले आ चुके थे, बिकॉज दिस थिंग हैपेंड जिसमें कश्मीर पंडित को निकाला गया. What was the difference between that Kashmir and this Kashmir that you visited after it, before started covering it as a kid?
So मैं खुद तो नहीं किया, लेकिन what my father says was he had 2 daughters and he got an instinct that he should leave.
Was that instinctive only या फिर उनको कुछ जानकारी थी ऐसी?
Because he was meeting the politicians, the top-notch bureaucrats. So he was. You know how journalists get access to the innermost happenings in which common people don't know. So perhaps he saw the turbulence that was awaiting the land, especially after independence, when Sheikh Saab, that is the present Sheikh Abdullah's father, came, and his book covers a lot of that. You know.
क्या नाम बुक किताब का?
Kashmir, the Great Games. Kashmir, the Great Games.
Is it the one जो आ चुकी है?
नहीं, अभी print होनी है, अभी खत्म की है उन्होंने. But he's also written about the Indo-China, Kashmir का Indo-China border, Kashmir का जो है. So when he used to talk about Kashmir, he left because he could see the turbulence and also growth नहीं था वहाँ पे. In terms of professional things, so he left Kashmir, but he was always in touch with Kashmir.
So, what do you think? Was that a pre-conceptualized and very target-oriented thing which happened, या फिर it was very much like heat of the moment thing, जिसमें कश्मीरी पंडितों को निकाला गया, कि वो बस एक रात एक चीज़ हुई और निकाल दिया गया, या फिर पहले से पूर्व नियोजित और पूरे ढंग से प्लान करके वो चीज़ की गई थी?
एक्चुअली अगर देखा जाए तो मैं जब कश्मीर जाती थी डर नहीं था बहुत, मतलब I used to go as a teenager, but you could see that there is a certain, you know how the underbelly जो साफ दिखाई नहीं, नज़र नहीं आता, लेकिन महसूस किया जाता है, वो था. कुछ डर सा था कश्मीरी पंडितों में कि माइनॉरिटी थे एक तो, and you know how it's been a violent history. I mean, there was a time when Kashmiri Pandit खाली 13 फैमिली बची थी, लेकिन resilience जो थी वो उस वजह से वो लोग survive हो गए. 13 फैमिली बची थी कुल कश्मीर में, जो मैसेकर हुआ या जो conversions हुए over a period of time. So yeah, so you can't say that it was overnight. Nothing happens overnight. कुछ भी जो है जो अंदर से you know, there is a volcano, it's always bubbling from inside. The eruption doesn't take place all of a sudden. हमेशा कुछ एक्टिविटी होती है. तो बाद में जब मैं मतलब मेरे को डर नहीं था, because I was a journalist, I was young, very young. I wasn't aware of, you know, I hadn't lived through what the ordinary Kashmiri had lived through. But we were surrounded by Muslims all over. There was no feeling of fear. हमारा घर जो था वो एकदम surrounded था सब. We were living in a Muslim-dominated area, so there was, but you could feel undercurrents at times, you know.
So, Sunita, the thing is, आपने बोला कि आप उस चीज़ को महसूस कर सकते थे, मगर क्योंकि इतने लंबे टाइम वहाँ रहे तो पड़ोसी और सब लोग रहे होंगे, तो बात हुई लोगों से जो उस चीज़ को देख पाए सामने से, उनका क्या रिएक्शन था, वो लोग किस तरीके से उस पूरी चीज़ को बयां कर रहे थे?
सो मेरे जो रिलेटिव्स थे वो तो वहीं थे, हमारा घर भी वहीं था, चाचा चाची एवरीबडी वाज देयर, सब लोग वहाँ होते थे। लेकिन ये कभी जहन में नहीं आया कि ये सब होगा, यू नो। एक थोड़ा सा, but when I went to interview some of the militants, the really hardcore militants who were asking for Azad Kashmir, they never, one of them, and I would like to put this on record, that one of them said we never wanted the Kashmiri Pandits to go. Whether he was paying lip service or not, I don't know. But he also genuinely said something that sticks in my memory. He said that the education system has failed or has gone down or has मतलब कश्मीरी पंडित्स जब तक थे तो एजुकेशन सिस्टम का स्टैंडर्ड बहुत ही ऊंचा था, क्योंकि वो बिकॉज कश्मीरी पंडित्स आर नोन फॉर एकेडमिक्स एंड लर्निंग एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट, एंड आई कैन नेवर फॉरगेट दैट। परहैप्स क्या हमें क्या पता कि कहाँ, मतलब एक तो इंसाइट किया गया वहाँ के लोगों को, लेकिन जो सही बात है वो मैं बोल रही हूँ कि हार्डकोर मिलिटेंट के दिमाग में भी, और उन्होंने कैमरा पे ये बोला कि हम लोग आपको मिस करते हैं, चाहे वो गलत हो या सही हो मुझे नहीं मालूम, लेकिन लगता तो था कि वो सच्चे दिल से ये कह रहे थे कि देयर आर सर्टेन थिंग्स दैट ओनली द कश्मीरी पंडित्स कैन डू। बट हैविंग सेड दैट, उन्होंने ये भी वार्न किया था उस समय, मैं 1992, 91, 93 की बात कर रही हूँ, जब हाइट ऑफ मिलिटेंसी थी,
जी
तब की बात कर रही हूँ। उन्होंने मुझे ये भी बोला था कि हमारी जनरेशन को तो मालूम है आप लोग कौन हैं, इट विल बी ईजियर कि आप लोगों को रीसेटल अभी किया जाए, लेकिन आप ये सोचिए कि नेक्स्ट जनरेशन को तो पता ही नहीं कि आपकी वैल्यू क्या थी
जी।
कश्मीरी पंडितों की। दैट वॉज वेरी पॉइगनेंट बिकॉज दैट इज़ अ फैक्ट। जब तक आप साथ साथ रहते हैं तो आप फिर भी, मतलब यू नो दैट दिस इज़ अनदर कम्युनिटी दैट इज़ पार्ट ऑफ दिस वैली, पर उसके बाद क्या होगा, उनको तो पता ही नहीं होगा कि कश्मीरी पंडित कौन है क्या है, और रिजेंटमेंट ज़्यादा होगी रीसेटलमेंट पे। ये मेरे जहन में एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण तरीके से स्टिक करा, और मैंने सोचा इसके बारे में, एंड आई थॉट ही वाज राइट।
आपके जो रिलेटिव्स जिनकी आप बात कर रहे हैं, उनको भी उस रात वहाँ से निकाला गया?
दे लेफ्ट, उनको भी निकलना पड़ा।
उनको भी निकलना पड़ा। निकाला गया, निकलना पड़ा, दो अलग सेंटेंस हैं।
ये मैं नहीं कह सकती कि निकाला, पर सुना तो है कि और मैंने एक पॉलिटिशियन जो कि पावर में थे, आई वुडंट लाइक टू नेम हिम, उन्होंने
किस दौरान की बात है जिस पॉलिटिशियन को आप कोट कर रही हैं विदाउट टेकिंग द नेम? Which era you talking about?
92, 91, 92, जब इलेक्शन नहीं हुआ था, जब मिलिटेंसी के बाद जब प्रेसिडेंट्स रूल था, तब की बात करनी हूँ, जब पीक ऑफ मिलिटेंसी थी तब की बात करनी हूँ।
उन्होंने जिस समय जगमोहन मल्होत्रा मेरे ख्याल से वो थे।
नहीं, जगमोहन was there at that time, no, I don't.
गवर्नर थे 1990s में, क्योंकि जगमोहन मल्होत्रा ही थे, उन्हीं के रीइंस्टेट जब उनको किया गया केंद्र सरकार ने, तभी फारूक अब्दुल्ला जो है उन्होंने अपना इस्तीफा दिया था, तो ये उस समय की बात है।
हाँ, जब मिलिटेंसी शुरू हुई थी 1990s में ही तो शुरू हुई थी शायद।
मिलिटेंसी थोड़ी उससे पहले से शुरू हुई, ये कुछ टर्बुलेंस वाले ईयर रहे 1990 और 89 के आसपास, जब फारूक अब्दुल्ला को हटा दिया गया। उससे पहले शेख अब्दुल्ला जो उनके फादर रहे, उनकी भी जो पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजीज़ थी, उनके भाई को बना दिया गया था वहाँ से, जो सीएम बनाया गया था केंद्र सरकार से। बट फारूक और राजीव का जो अकॉर्ड साइन हुआ था, उसके बाद इतना टर्बुलेंस नहीं था, मगर अनस्टेबिलिटी आ गई थी, क्योंकि एक एंटी इंडिया मूवमेंट वहाँ पे शुरू हो गया था, आईएसआई द्वारा पोषित। ये भी है। मैं अगला इसी चीज़ पे आना चाहता था, दैट आईएसआई का जो एक नैरेटिव देते हैं कि आईएसआई स्टार्टेड at the very border some training camps for the youth of Kashmir. As you were born there, all the people, those who were being accused that they were being trained, might be your classmates, और समय आपके ना दोस्त रहे होंगे मेरे ख्याल से, वही कश्मीरी लोग जो बचपन में आप वहाँ थे। You ever felt as a kid or anywhere, बाद में भी कभी उन लोगों से मुलाकात हुई कि वो सेंटिमेंट उनके अंदर प्रोजेक्ट किया गया था, या फिर पहले से था उनमें ये चीज़?
मेरे को जो मिलिटेंट्स थे जो आज़ाद कश्मीर की बात कर रहे थे, उन्होंने ये बोला है कि दे वर ट्रेन्ड इन पाकिस्तानी कैंप्स। ये कोई मनगढ़ंत कहानियाँ नहीं है।
Right.
The people whom I interviewed, and not just one, but 2 or 3 of them admitted to getting funds from Pakistan, to being trained from by Pakistani whatever
armed forces, retired उनके जो होते
whatever थे, हाँ. So this is nothing new. As far as I am concerned, see, journalists को तो अलग नज़रिए से वो लोग देखते हैं. They don't. And I was representing a foreign company. It was ABNI at that time, जो सिंगापुर based, अब जो CNBC हो गया है, ने acquire किया है. तो मेरे साथ तो या तो मैं I was journalist, पता नहीं मुझे कभी महसूस नहीं हुआ कि वो मुझे no, I never felt fear. डर नहीं लगा मुझे. बस मुझे I don't know, it's my personal experience. मुझे डर नहीं लगा उनसे. हालांकि वो लोग खुले तौर से बोल रहे थे कि देखिए ताली दो हाथ से बजती है. या तो एक तो पॉलिसी फेलियर होता है और दूसरा होता है inciting the masses. So through the many years after independence, there have been certain policies that have जो कि शायद लोग समझ, many people think that because of those policies, Kashmir was alienated. और दूसरा ये है कि there were certain people who were उनका इंटरेस्ट था कि वो मुस्लिम्स को भड़काएं. लेकिन जब मैं जाती थी तो मैं हज़ारों लोग, I have photographs also where I'm surrounded by thousands of Muslim women and men, thousands, and I never felt fear. I was in the middle and I was interviewing them. उनके भी मुद्दे वही थे, पानी, स्कूल, वो सब. सो कहीं ना कहीं अगर देखा जाए तो एलिनेशन या तो भड़काते हैं, या तो फॉरेन इन्फ्लुएंसेस होती हैं, या पॉलिसी आपका कुछ गड़बड़ है.
Let's stick to policy failure only. What do you think, like up to what extent this policy failure by the government of that time, not I'm talking about state, but collectively state and the center as well, where do you think that this whole lacuna actually took place, because of what this exodus was a resultant of it?
I think it was right since the time of independence, the alliances that were made. We never tried to reach out to the common masses. We always tried to keep Kashmir stable through leaders with whom either the Congress had alliances or who were in, who they thought they could influence in keeping Kashmir intact with India. तो मुझे लगता है कि ये जो है, और जो वो leaders जो थे, एक disparity वैसे ही थी Muslims और Hindus के बीच में, in terms of jobs, in terms of like Kashmiri Pandits had a lot of good jobs, they were teachers, so there was some kind of a resentment already there, and that because of political parties or the जो leader थे उस समय के, उन्होंने उसको exploit किया और वो बढ़ता गया. तो जो इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी है एक नेशन को टुगेदर रखने की, वो शायद कहीं कमज़ोर पड़ी, क्योंकि जो लीडर्स थे उन्होंने शायद equitable distribution of wealth नहीं किया, तो जो alienation है वो ज़्यादा आती रही. और ऐसे ही, I'm not an expert, I cannot say more than this, that this is what I feel.
This is totally fine. This is last question I want to ask, that this anti-India movement which was there at that point in time in Kashmir specifically, as you just mentioned about the Kashmiri Pandits, that they were having some good jobs, they were earning well, and they were the what should I say, the elite class of Kashmiris at that time. So they were being considered of being placed like the face of Indian government, the face of Indian government suppressing the Kashmiris, all the Muslims. There was something like that?
No. What was happening was that you have the bureaucracy from Delhi coming and sitting there as IPS officer. You have a governor general who is not local. You have people, it was basically the administration from Delhi, just bureaucrats in every sphere. IPS officer, batch 19, falana. So ये जो है ना, ये आप जब तक उनको you know like you have to nurture the people at the grassroots level. अगर आप उनके ऊपर कोई दिल्ली से आके बिठा देंगे तो उनमें resentment वो grow होता जाएगा. Even when I used to interview people, whether it was corporate sector, except of course for the manufacturing of carpets और वगैरह, वो locals के हाथ में थी या house boats, but जो bureaucracy थी, जो alienation हमेशा होता है, because culturally Kashmiris are very different. Whether it's a Muslim or a Kashmiri Pandit, हम लोगों का culture जो है ना बहुत फ़र्क है बाकी इंडिया से. I'm sorry, I believe, I shouldn't be sorry, but I am sorry that I am, some people may see it as very, you know, aggressive and very offensive, but जो कश्मीरी पंडित है, उसका culture जो है, the way we talk, the way, बहुत फ़र्क है from the rest of India. It is a fact. We are a different race altogether, even and this is very controversial, even in terms of our genetics, even in terms of our race, we are different. It's a different race. And as I said, we have our cultural affinity more with Central Asia. The Samavar, for instance, the Kehba, for instance, the Kangri, for instance. It has nothing to do with the rest of India. And yet we amalgamated because our religion was the same, Hindu. But even our Hinduism is different. When I went back in 1900, whatever it was, 1992, 93, I saw Hari Parvat, all these places were, ये सब आर्मी के हाथों में चली गई थी. और जो पंडित लोग थे, वो कश्मीरी पंडित नहीं थे. वो ब्राह्मण कहीं यूपी का था. तो वो मेरे में एलिनेशन आ गई. मुझे गुस्सा आया और मैंने उस पंडित को बोला, हम लोग संस्कृत में श्लोक बोलते हैं और आप जो श्लोक बोल रहे हैं वो मैं बचपन से नहीं सुनती आ रही हूँ. आप एक एनफोर्स कर रहे हैं आप हिंदुइज़्म. हमारा हिंदुइज़्म थोड़ा डिफरेंट है. So even I feel strongly about it, that we don't want to amalgamate into the rest of India. We want to retain our identity, being part of India. We are an integral part of India, but we have our own special identity है हमारा. And cultural affiliation नहीं है बाकी इंडिया के साथ. We want to retain that, but this is getting destroyed. Because जब आपका geographical terrain ले लिया किसी ने, हमारा geographical terrain हट गया हमसे, हम लोग बिखर गए और हमको force किया गया दूसरे cultures के साथ, दूसरे Hindus के साथ amalgamate होने का. Like we have been forced into Maharashtra, we have been forced into Gujarat, all these places, the Hindus, our cultural affinity, our festivals, we just have Shivratri, and we have Khets Mavas, our New Year is different, everything is different. And now who remembers? वो पत्री देख के कब lunar calendar कब आता है, सब एक दिन ख़त्म हो जाएगी ये. एक दिन कश्मीरी पंडित नाम की जाति ख़त्म हो जाए. We are bothered about tigers and lions and you know, वो ख़त्म होते जा रहे हैं. लेकिन human beings का क्या, हमारा culture का क्या होगा जब हमारे से वो जगह ही छीन ली जहाँ हमको हर फेस्टिवल जैसे शिवरात्रि हो या न्यू ईयर हो या खिट्स मावस हो, वो ही सब अब सब चला गया. तो कल्चरली इंटरमैरिजेस सब ख़त्म हो चुका है. सो वी एज अ रेस आर डाइंग, but nobody is bothered. As long as Article 370 has been abrogated, we think it's a great victory. But for me as a Kashmiri Pandit, that's not a great victory.
मैं उस पर आऊँगा, but उससे पहले who do you think is responsible for not reinstating or not re-establishing or not what should I say, preserving this whole Kashmiri Pandits identity and everything? Who do you find responsible for this?
See, we are too small in numbers. हम लोग तो एक बहुत ही छोटी minority हैं. हम लोग खुद कुछ नहीं कर सकते. हमें गोलियों की बौछार से उड़ा दिया जाएगा.
That's a very controversial thing which you're saying right now. I mean, उड़ा दिया जाएगा.
हाँ, we've been targeted. We've been targeted. जैसे Lasakol, in the middle of the AIR की जो director थे, he was shot to death. Even recently, there are certain, it's not, I'm not talking about the general masses जो हैं, वो शायद हमसे इतनी नफरत नहीं करते. लेकिन कई लोग हैं, जैसे whether we blame Pakistan or anyone else, they don't want us to go back. But even, I mean, I'm saying something very controversial and I'm totally taking the onus of it, but even Israel, जो भी किया उन्होंने demarcation किया, वो भी fail हो गया. So I don't know what the solution क्या है, मुझे नहीं मालूम, क्योंकि अभी भी Palestine और Jews का चल रहा है even though the Jews went back to Israel.
How did Israel and this whole thing come into
because it's a similar problem. No, it is a similar problem. It is about land. It is about conversion. It is about some of the mistakes that, for instance, there was a time when the prime minister, when there was this thought कि जो भी मुसलमानों को forcefully convert किया गया उनको वापस हिंदुइज्म की फोल्ड में लाया जाए. लेकिन history is witness to it that the Hindus said नहीं, हम नहीं accept कर सकते इनको, which was very wrong. So we have failed as well. This is the history of Kashmir, that after this terrible plunder of the Kashmiri Hindus,
Exodus,
before the Exodus, much before, when 13th century, मैं तो तब की बात कर रही हूँ. उसके बाद जो उसके बाद भी एक thought था, एक नज़रिया था कि चलिए ये सब तो convert हो गए मुसलमान को, इनको वापस लाइए ना अपने fold में, convert them back to Hinduism. But it was a Kashmiri Pandit who said no. So we have made mistakes too. हम सब उन्हीं को
मतलब किसी और पे blame नहीं डाल सकते.
नहीं, हम खुद भी कमज़ोर हैं. हम खुद भी अपने पैर पे खुलारी मारते हैं.
कमज़ोर as in terms of numbers you're talking about or ideologically?
ये rigidity क्या हुआ कि आप वापस नहीं लेना चाहते उनको अपने fold में?
You think is it the reason, the same rigidity, why the Kashmiri Pandits were not being reinstated in Kashmir for so long?
No, I think it is cowardice in terms of we know that our fate, we are scared. We are scared. You are not giving us any special area. कोई demarcated area नहीं दे रहे जहाँ हम लोग रह सकते हैं.
Isn't it something which is going to again create a pressure zone? Like, okay, in a certain location, the Kashmiri Pandits are here only. This is the orange zone or the red zone or the green zone. Like, hypothetically, I'm saying if they'll create that.
Yes, it has created that in Israel, for instance. That's why I keep talking about Israel.
That's just keep this whole conversation, I mean, for a while.
To India, okay.
In terms of India and Kashmir, because for people, those who are sitting out here, to understand Palestine and this whole Israel conflict, the Gaza, people need to go back and study that. They have never witnessed anyone, never met someone who's a part of it. By and large, the major portion of our masses. But Kashmiri Pandits, the thing happened in India only. People have met these things. People know this history. Their grandfathers or their fathers have seen that happening. They talk about it. From that perspective, I'm saying, if we'll talk about this, we can come to that Israel and Palestine thing as well. And Gaza, if that's the right pronunciation, I came to know this. So, this is one more thing, Sunita. There might be any reason, but let's talk about the reality today. You just mentioned about 370. Amendment of 370, section 38B or something like that. Is there anything changed for you, being a Kashmiri Pandit from Kashmir, staying in Canada, thinking of getting a piece of land back in Kashmir? How do you think that it has changed anything for you?
Nothing has changed for me.
How?
I still will think 100 times whether I'm safe there. पहली जो चीज़ है वो आप देखते हैं हमारी जान को खतरा है कि नहीं है.
And how would you actually understand it or feel it that you are safe? How would you ensure it that you are safe? What would be the ways to it? Because if we look at the data, there are no stone peltings, there are no agitations going on in Kashmir right now after the abrogation. It is very peaceful. There are multiplexes which has been inaugurated. I mean, I'm talking about all the data and everything which is there floating in front of the people around. What are the other things that you want concrete, evidence-based, that can make you feel more secure over there?
I think it's the history, the repetitiveness of history. अगर आप समझते हैं कि कश्मीर का इश्यू खारिज कर चुके हैं लोग, ख़त्म हो चुका है, तो मेरी नज़र में I'm just an ordinary citizen of, I'm just an ordinary person, human being. But I don't think that this is the end of the issue. I don't think so.
Are we talking about this POK and Kashmir issue or the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits issue here?
Just the whole issue of Kashmir is not over as yet. You will understand, I don't want to say anything more than that. Just like the Punjab issue will never be over. This is not going to be over. I don't want to venture beyond this, but I don't think it's over. Just a sense of security, a cycle in time. You know, it's a cycle in time when things are calm. They can, ऐसा ही रहेगा? मुझे नहीं मालूम. मुझे ये कोई guarantee नहीं है. And why is it that the Kashmiri Pandits are targeted? Because उनका दावा है उस land पे. अगर हम चले गए, तो फिर religion के basis पे वो war किया जा सकता है और जो भी है, you know, like it's a game that goes on the basis of religion. But if the Kashmiri Pandits are not there, then, you know, then the war for the other side becomes easier.
But Sunita, do you think is it possible to actually go into that game or war or any other word that you might use in this India, in this Bharat, in which we are staying right now? Do you think is it possible?
Why do you get such a sense of security just because the BJP is in power? BJP is not God. BJP could not solve the issue of Kashmir. What was in the hands of Kashmir? Defense was in the hands of India. Telecommunication was in the hands of India. Finance, I think, too, was in the hands of India. So what did Article 370 achieve? Defense तो हमारे पास वैसे ही था ना. Defense is the biggest thing. They were not, defense-wise, they were dependent on us, on India. So what is it that we are going all gaga over the abrogation of the Article 370? We have to go into all these details and then be euphoric about having solved the Kashmir issue. No, it's not being solved. There's a whole generation of Kashmiri Pandits who are still, who had to live in camps in this country. We are not a majority and we are taken lightly in this country. We are Hindus, but and still we are not being taken lightly because we are a small minority of Hindus. And we are a very different race in terms of not being vociferous or not being aggressive. It's not so easy. They just want to solve this problem by making us sacrifice everything. The real victory of India or the Kashmir, the real issue solving will be the day that hundreds and thousands of Kashmiris, Pandits go back and say, this is our land. Till then, I don't think they have solved the issue.
Just a few days back, I saw some visuals. Janmashtami, this whole procession was there in the area of Lal Chowk, which has been considered one of the most disputed area for a really long time. And before this whole thing, Sunita never took the name of BJP when I said this India, because I'm talking about the current situation. People are aware. People have all the right information, like from the sources they want, they need, or they believe in. From that perspective, I'm saying, why did you especially mention BJP specifically?
Because they abrogated the Article 370. It was during their regime, and they think it's a great victory. It's a great victory. But then what I'm saying is that defense was they were already, the real victory when the hearts and minds and souls of the Kashmiri Muslims will feel and throb for India. Till and until that happens, Kashmir is not a safe place. Until we make them feel the national fervor. India as a nation, not India as Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh. Until that happens, till we win the heart, mind and soul of every Kashmiri, if not every, a majority of them.
Majority of Kashmiris.
It will never be solved.
Just an optional question, hypothetical might be, but how do you think it would be possible if Kashmiri Pandits won't visit that place, Kashmiri Pandits won't buy land, because now it's possible, no? So how do you think is it possible if they won't come across such people, those who have been banished from their land?
They can't go back, because the truth of the fact is that it's not, you have to be a Kashmiri Pandit to feel or to understand nabz, jisko bolte hain na, nabz, pulse of a place. It's very difficult to. We were eliminated not because there was a hatred towards Kashmiri Pandits. We were eliminated because we had the rights to land. That was one of the main things. Perhaps that was, you could still, as a Kashmiri Pandit, but there are still certain things like state citizenship. If you were married outside the community, you could not get state citizenship.
Isn't it changed?
I don't know. I am very out of touch with Kashmir right now.
That's actually changed.
But the Muslim woman, if she married to a she's married to a Pakistani, she could still own land in. But I don't know whether.
But that was a different thing. That was a totally different narrative. If she marries a Indian as well at that time, she would actually
still be a state citizen.
No, she will be a state citizen, but she won't hold any right over the land. That's the thing, And at the same time, I'm not very much sure about the citizenship. That's the reason I'm not commenting about it. But the situations were same for Kashmiri Pandit and a Muslim as well. No, if they're marrying in India.
No, I think if a Kashmiri Muslim marries outside, she could still be a state citizen. I don't think, I'm not sure. So I'm
so do I. But I'm talking about the land ownership.
Landowner, I don't know whether that has changed or not. I don't know what abrogation of this article, whether it gave the right. For instance, if if a Kashmiri woman is married to a Punjabi, can she go back and claim state citizenship? That is a question that's important for me. Is there still state citizenship? That is important.
But I don't think there's a state citizenship left anymore after the abrogation of, not abrogation, the amendment of 370, if I say. There's this one more thing. You just mentioned about BJP, and this government is taking a very high ground after this abrogation. So, being a journalist, Sunita, don't you think, or do you think, I won't say don't you think, do you think this even a 1% victory over any of these issues, or is it a start? Do you want to give any sort of credit, even say like 1%? Not only just to the government, but to the people and how the things happened and how this entire sentiment, this broke out in India. People supported this whole thing. They were really happy after this amendment happened in 370.
I don't know. I really don't know. I think that when the time is right, things happen. There is also a thing called the cycle of time, as I said earlier. Had they done this 20 years back, perhaps they would not have been successful. But perhaps, I mean, I don't think there is any... I've refrained from this. I've been out of the country for a while. I wouldn't like to comment on this because I've not been to Kashmir since 1995 or 96. I haven't been after that.
You're thinking of visiting in the coming future?
I wanted to visit it. Visit it.
And now what? Like, you don't want to go?
I want to go.
Want to go?
I would love to go back because I have, we have certain traditions that are tied to it. I want to go back, and there is some unfulfilled thing that I have to go back to achieving, to doing that. I would love to go there, of course.
Sunita, you just mentioned that you've been out of India for a really long time, haven't visited Kashmir, but there were a few movies in those, like Indian Bollywood motion pictures were there. Ma'am, being very specific, the Kashmir Files. You watched that movie?
Yes, I did.
Your comment on that?
My comment on that is that even though I haven't seen that kind of brutality, my mother used to talk a lot about it. My father used to talk a lot about it. My mother used to say that when she was growing up, they were given a bottle of poison and they were told, especially when the Kabali raid took place, I think during the time of Nehru,
just after the partition.
Just after the partition, when they were attacking Kashmir. She said, we grew up with the thing that you have to keep this, and the brutality, I don't think it was overestimated. I think that was the reality, and that is what I heard from my mother.
So it wasn't out of proportion?
No, it was not out of proportion. It's not a commonality, but it could happen. But there's something called, if I may, I would take your permission, but because it's public, there's something called the mutilation of the genitals. I mean, that's a Muslim thing. They do that to Kashmiri women. It's a fact of life. And with modern technology, it's possible, even without the woman getting to know. So these are things that even in Canada, we don't feel safe. And this is not because I'm a fearless person. I have covered Kashmir at the peak of its militancy. But I am telling you something that I'm not going to blame the entire, it's not a commonality, but things like this do happen. That's all I can say right now.
I want to talk about that a little more, but that will be very much controversial because I'll be asking for some evidences or something that you can support for this comment you just made. But let's stick to that movie. But this is a serious thing. If you'll ever get a chance and you will have the evidences for the same, like some books or anything else, any reference, I'll consider that only. Sunita, few answers back, you mentioned about the Punjab sentiment and that whole Sikh sentiment thing, and you're staying in Canada for a really long time. How do you look at it, and what's your idea? Because the whole history that you had as a Kashmiri Pandit and the agitation or the turbulence or whatsoever, like a person can actually state it in a different way. What your take as a journalist? What do you say about that?
As my father's book, I told you about Kashmir, the games played, or the great games. My father's book traces Kashmir and Punjab history. We have a common history. We have we've shared common territory, and we've had close ties, and we've had Sikh rulers, and so the कश्मीर का जो संबंध सिख कम्युनिटी के साथ है वो बहुत ही पुराना संबंध है, बहुत ही पुराना संबंध है. I can't say beyond that what my personal feelings about that. It's somewhere down the road, I don't know what has happened, but there is an alienation, like Sikhs feel alienated. I don't know why. Because
where in India or somewhere else?
Outside too, outside they're very powerful. In Canada, they're a very powerful lot. We have around 800,000 Sikhs in Canada.
They aren't in India?
They aren't in India?
Like they aren't powerful in India?
They're very powerful in India too. We had a Sikh prime minister. But not all Sikhs want a separate.
But what I'm thinking is, like, where exactly this comparison is coming from? I mean, about being in power. That's what I'm thinking. Like, what's your this basis of this whole thing you just mentioned?
That I cannot tell you. That I cannot tell you, because there are some things that are not said. But I can tell you this much, that if India faces any danger, it's to its perhaps still to its integrity as a nation.
That's a very strong statement, Sunita, you just made. When I was talking about this whole sentiment that you just mentioned, and staying in Canada, because there's some sort of a turbulence between these two nations. Niger, the whole killing of Niger happened. Indian agencies were being targeted for the same. The government retaliated. There were some sightings of different people, and those were being specifically mentioned by the agencies over there in Canada on specific stages with some leaders like that, or the leaders on a particular stage with a particular sentiment. How the people of Canada and the Sikhs of Canada are looking at it by staying out there when India and Indian agencies are being targeted for the same, or being like held responsible for the same?
See, I would say that the common man has nothing to do with all this hype. I personally attended the rally that was held by the Sikhs who were asking for Khalistan in Toronto, and perhaps I was the only one present with a camera there. And they were allowed to do it. It's a democratic country, and they burned the Indian flag. But most of the ordinary Sikhs, they're more interested in economic prosperity. Deep down inside, they may have affiliations, but they don't come out with it. Whether all those 800,000 that are in Canada feel that there should be something like this is a question mark. Yes, they may be scared to vent their personal feelings about nahi ye nahi hona chahiye, Khalistan nahi bana. किसको हिम्मत होगी बोलने की ये? But maybe most of the Sikhs feel that way.
तो डर का माहौल है आप कह रही हैं वहाँ?
नहीं, डर का माहौल नहीं है, पर individually क्यों बोलेंगे उनको? Why should anybody, you have your own personal feelings which you don't want to vent.
But you just mentioned it's a democratic country.
Yeah, it's a democratic country and they were allowed to do that rally, but
So why aren't they allowed to say things out loud? मतलब उनको डर है फिर कहीं इसका मतलब?
नहीं, ordinary Sikhs की मैं बात कर रही हूँ.
Yes, ordinary Sikhs only, because the people those who were actually having that rally, वो भी मेरे ख्याल से ordinary ही रहे होंगे. Most of the people those who are attending, not just the one on the stage, but the people those who are attending must be some ordinary Sikhs only. But I'm saying, is it some sort of a pressure on the on the Sikhs, those who are there to work, to earn their living, those are the families staying back in India? Do you think that there's some pressure on them not to actually speak out anything that they feel like, if they have some sort of this problems with the things going on out there?
There may not be external pressure, but there's always the fear that you'll be targeted. Look, there are certain things that happen in society which you as a journalist will never get to know. Because there is always an underbelly. जैसे आपने बोल तो दिया, लेकिन आजकल की टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसी है कि आप घर में बैठे हैं, अपने फैमिली के साथ बात कर रहे हैं, somebody else is listening to it, and it's not always the spy agencies that are listening. You may take this as a joke, but this is a reality. I know. Today's technology, your own cell phone, everything that we are talking here, hundreds of people may be listening to it. So there is always that fear कि मैं छुप ही रहूँ. Ordinary इंसान को fear तो हमेशा रहता है ना कि क्यों मैं इस धंधे में पड़ूँ, मुझे क्या मिलेगा, छुप रहना बेहतर है. So there is always ये हमेशा एक दरार होती है उन लोगों के बीच में जो कि ऐसे लोग हैं जो खुलेआम जला रहे हैं फ्लैग, इंडियन फ्लैग को, और जो ऑर्डिनरी जनता है, जो 80% लोग शायद इस झंझट में नहीं पड़ना चाहते.
ओके, अंडरस्टूड. बट मेरा जो मूलभूत सवाल है अभी भी वही है. पानी आराम से पी ले आप, मैं सवाल पूछता हूँ. मेरा सवाल यही है कि मैं और आप यहाँ बैठ के जो बात कर रहे हैं अभी, चाहे एक लोग सुन रहा हो, कोई 1000 लोग सुन रहे हो, 1 लाख लोग सुन रहे हो, I as an individual, not as a journalist, not scared of it. No matter how many people will listen to it, that's their idea. Until and unless I'm deliberately saying something to offend. मैं किसी को ऑफेंड करने के लिए डेलिबरेटली कुछ नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. अगर कोई हो रहा है उससे, नो दैट्स समथिंग एल्स. आई कैन टॉक अबाउट इट, आई कैन लाइक रीवैल्यूएट इट. और मुझे लगता है कि नहीं, उसमें ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. मैंने संविधान का उल्लंघन न करते हुए कोई भी ऐसी चीज़, किसी की धार्मिक या किसी आस्थाओं पर कोई भी कटाक्षेप नहीं किया है, तो मैं उस पर तटस्थ रहूँगा. I'll be very much strong on my grounds. I'll hold my grounds like that. मैं बात कर रहा हूँ दूसरी सिचुएशन की, जहाँ पर आप कह रही हैं कि एक नॉर्मल आम काम करने वाला सिख अगर नहीं चाहता है उस पूरी एक मूवमेंट का पार्ट भी होना, या फिर उसको फॉर एनी रीज़न वो गलत भी लग रहा है, तो वो कह नहीं सकता, वो कहेगा नहीं. बिल्कुल सही, अंडरस्टूड. दे डोंट वांट टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ इट. ओके, बिना डर के. मगर क्या 1% भी कोई डर है किसी व्यक्ति के मन में कि अगर मैं ऐसा बोलता हूँ तो उसके रेपरकशंस हो सकते हैं?
Of course.
ओके, किससे डर है वो? From that particular organization, the people of that organization, or the government, or like from whom? किससे है वो? They're scared of whom?
They're scared of repercussions. Because अगर आप किसी के ये तो एक ज़िंदगी का दौर है, ये अगर आप किसी के बीच में आए, किसी संस्था या किसी पावरफुल व्यक्ति या किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के, या किसी का जिसका मुद्दा है कोई, तो नॉर्मली क्या होता है, they don't leave you alone. If you're a strong opponent of something and you're opposing and you are making and you have some kind of a standing in society, this is common. You will have to be really brave to face all the turmoil that comes with being who you are. ये तो बहुत आसान काम है बोलना कि भाई मैं ये एयर करूँगा, आई एम नॉट गोइंग अगेंस्ट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. बट आम जिंदगी में जो होता है, एक नेक्सस होता है जो हमें दिखता नहीं है पर होता है. जॉब्स का नेक्सस होता है. इफ़ अ कम्युनिटी इज़ पावरफुल, they can see to it that you are slowly destroyed. Jobs के jobs में नहीं आने देंगे आप. There are lots of things that happen and they have been happening for centuries. ये कोई नई बात नहीं है.
नहीं,
तो
बिल्कुल
बहुत पुरानी है। आप अपने आप को पहले इतना पावरफुल बनाना चाहिए कि आप किसी इतने पावरफुल संस्था को अपोज कर पाएँ। ये तो एक अचानक की नीति है कि डोंट इवन डेयर टू से समथिंग बिकॉज यू आर जस्ट अ नोबडी, यू नो। इफ आई मे बी द बिगेस्ट जर्नलिस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड, but even the biggest journalist is just finished. And not by the Sikhs only. I mean, I'm not talking about Sikhs. Sikhs, though, they're at the end of the day, they're a very powerful community. They're a very economically powerful. They are intelligent people. So, koi bhi, I mean, it's nothing new. So why get into this hassle of opposing something or opposing somebody?
I got my answer. Thank you. Just like one more thing that I need to understand, Sunita, that the level of journalism that you were here in India doing it, and the journalism which is being said or considered, or we have seen some reports that free media index and all these things India have like shifted down to like last third or like on a very very lower grounds. What do you see the change? How do you see that change as a part of it?
I think journalism has changed a lot since I left in India. And I think we're very opinionated as a race. We are all the time we are trying to enforce our views. जैसे आप अपने किसी के साथ बात करें, आप उसको कट करेंगे. It's just I think it's just that I see that there is a change in the way that we cover politics or any other subject.
Influenced media?
I think that's pretty obvious because there are certain channels that are being funded and have a political agenda. I think that's pretty obvious. There are certain channels that have come up that have a political agenda. And they talk just in favor of one or the other. That's everywhere in the world. That's not just in India. It's happening a lot.
And who do you think is at the loss?
I think it's all of us that are at loss. We are building a world where ideology matters more than policy matters. We are not being able to critique the policies of the government, but we are able to side with ideology. So we are siding with ideology, but not critiquing policy. And that is what's happening. That is very sad. Because if we concentrate as journalists on critiquing government policy, then it helps. You know, you're talking about, let's say you're talking about employment or you're talking about economic prosperity. You have to look at individual numbers and do a lot of research and evaluate, have metrics to evaluate. So I think it's the ordinary man that is losing out.
मगर सुनीता फिर वही बात है ना, डर आ जाएगा ना कि कोई आम आदमी है, अल्टीमेटली एक जर्नलिस्ट जो एक आम आदमी है.
नहीं, जर्नलिस्ट के पास तो लैंग्वेज का वो है ना. यू हैव द टूल ऑफ लैंग्वेज. यू कैन से इट इन अ वे दैट does not offend completely. And you have a platform. And the other person is not, you're not as vulnerable. A journalist is not as vulnerable as an ordinary person is.
But journalists are being shot. Journalists are being debarred.
In India?
Yeah, in India only. And not only just in India, but in the whole world. संपादकों को गोली मारी गई है इसी देश में, हमारे में. और आपने ही थोड़ी देर समय पहले अभी कश्मीर की बात की थी. मुझे पंजाब का याद आता है कि जब ये पूरा खालिस्तान मूवमेंट शुरू हुआ तो उससे पहले एक बहुत ही नामचीन अखबार के जो संपादक थे उनको सड़क पे गोली मारी गई थी. तो दैट्स नॉट अ न्यू थिंग, इट इज हैपनिंग. ये हो रहा है.
सी इफ यू दैट्स व्हाट आई सेड ना. अगर आप you know, if you're balanced in your writing, because it's a dangerous world we live in where democracy is losing ground. I think the biggest threat to the future world is democracy. Is democracy being eroded, and that's a real fear. Whether you look at any institution or you look at, you don't have the right to, you don't get to know a lot of things. No, a lot of things, not because they, you know, it's always, there are certain things that you never get to know.
You as an individual?
Individual, an ordinary person never gets to know. So the biggest threat to the world today is the erosion of democracy without us realizing that our fundamental rights are being stolen from us slowly by institutions, by whether it's the corporate world, the government, by institutions. It is a great threat. So I think journalists can write in a way where they don't annoy the opposing party, but just state facts, which is less. जो लोग एकदम bluntly बोलते हैं कि ये आदमी गंदा है, निजार को रॉ ने मार दिया, रॉ will go and kill you. Obviously, you're taking कहा जाता. But if you say, I mean, Raw is a powerful organization.
Raw will go and kill you.
Who knows what they do? I mean,
I understood.
I mean, that's just a way of saying whether it's Raw or it's CSIS or it's FBI or it's, you know, whichever country. I mean, if you oppose the FBI, you don't know what they, because you don't know what they are facing.
It's about if you're supposing any of the party which is stronger than you.
No, but you don't know the facts, what they are dealing with. About Canadian Security Agency, you don't know whether, you only know कि ये तो गंदा है, ये spy है, ये. No, but what is the spy facing? You don't know the facts that he has.
And why is actually a spy for the first place? No.
But you don't know half the things. They have tools where they get to know what's happening really in the deep, dark recesses of that country. You don't know why the Prime Minister kept a silence on that or why he's blaming Raw. You don't know what he feels deep down inside. He cannot afford to tell. I mean, I'm not defending Canada because I'm a Canadian citizen. I'm just saying these are the facts. You don't know what compulsions the government has. We cannot always blame the government for being this, that, and the other. The government has its own compulsions. You have to look at it from the point of view that they are sitting on information that you and me, even we are a 30 mark Khan journalist भी हो, उनको नहीं पता कि government के पास क्या वो information है, factual information है. So you have to trust that the person is, you know, like 800,000 Sikhs in Canada. If he says anything, he'll lose the election the next day, or he'll be in trouble himself. I mean, there's danger to his life also. So you have to do certain things as government which are not openly done, but in a very discreet fashion you have to tackle the. But हम journalists क्या हैं? नहीं हथौड़ा मार के उसको मारो क्योंकि उसने बोला कि इंडिया ने भेजा. Maybe he's saving some, you know, maybe that's his public posture. We don't know what he thinks in private. We don't know how he views the problem. He is actually facing 800,000 Sikhs. Or maybe he thinks that अरे जाने दो दूसरी country का है ना मामला, हमारे यहाँ तो ठीक ही है. You know, this was a Western policy to create trouble in other parts of the world. But now they are facing the same issue themselves. So they are changing their worldview on India or whatever. So slowly the change is happening, that they are seeing that this is not just limited to India, that they will be facing the same issues in their own country. Because it's not a homogeneous population now. There's a lot of people from outside the country.
And I think that's the same thing which goes for any other government of any other nation, but for Israel and all the other countries, those who are in some war or turbulence like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, any other, just because, like the way you just mentioned or stated, they have their own way of tackling something without actually disclosing it to the citizens of that country. But as a journalist, it's our duty to actually look into that, peep into that, and find out the truth, just for the audience, just for the people out there to know, because it's their right to know what exactly, because they've chosen
it's not their right.
Because they've chosen the government, it's their right to know. They've chosen
the government. So here's my take on it. It's a personal view. They've chosen the government, and they have chosen the government after knowing what the government stands for. For instance, we've chosen BJP. We know what they thought on Ayodhya. We know what they thought on. So to say that after that they'll go cudgel and spade and unearth what's happening in the secret files of the government, no, you lose the war. You can't be the general of an army and tell the soldier on the ground that वहाँ जाओगे तो 10 गोलियाँ तुम्हें लगेंगी. There are certain things that if you have to win the war, you cannot just be an open book. You'll be finished even before you start the war. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Sorry.
No, totally fine. That's totally understandable. But Sunita, the only thing is that something which is actually hampering me, affecting me, I have the right to know that. Directly or indirectly. That is how democracy works. That's what I believe. And if the democracy is not working this way, there is some lack in or there's some scope of betterment into it. That's where I stand, and that's where I come from. It is an immense pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, Sunita, for giving your time and all the statements that you just made, especially that Roman. That was lovely. That was lovely. Although I understood that.
I hope Raw doesn't get me now. If they haven't already,
yeah,
that is.
They must be listening to the Raw people. We'll say hi to them as well. But yeah, jokes apart, it is a pleasure talking to you because I came to know about the mentality, the idea, the thought process of a Kashmiri Pandit. A Kashmiri Pandit who not only just left Kashmir but left the country as well, living in some different country, but still have some fears attached to him or her. There's a totally unheard, which are like under the table for a really long time. Now people don't even know about that if they were being not set and like in open or like in the portals where people can actually listen to it. So thank you so much for opening those things. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
नमस्कार.
तो ये थी सुनीता कौल जी और काफ़ी सारे मुद्दों पे बात करने की कोशिश की. कश्मीर का मुद्दा, कश्मीरी पंडितों के विस्थापन का, उनको वहाँ से निकाला जाना, उसके बाद पूरा खालिस्तान मूवमेंट जो अभी एक शक्ल इख्तियार कर चुका है अलग तरीके से, किस तरह कनाडा में निज्जर की हत्या और सारी चीज़ें. अल्टीमेटली जो मेरा टेक इस चीज़ पर है वो ये कि आपके पास जितने भी सवाल हैं वो मुखर होकर आप पूछते रहें. जवाब देना या ना देना किसी भी सरकार या किसी भी आप से ज़्यादा सशक्त कोई एक अगर आपके सामने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, ये उसके ऊपर है. एक ही जगह पर लगातार चोट करने से दरार तो आती है और उससे कितनी रोशनी निकल कर आएगी ये वक्त बताएगा. तो उसी वक्त में मैं मिलूँगा फिर आपसे दोबारा किसी नए गेस्ट के साथ. तब तक के लिए अपना ख्याल रखिए और देखते रहिए MSTV.